Listen, stress is something every single one of us knows a little too well. You might wake up with it, sleep with it, eat with it, and sometimes even argue with it. But let me tell you something straight. Chronic stress ain't just a feeling. It's a whole storm hitting your mind and body. See, stress is sneaky. First, it taps your shoulder. Then it whispers in your ear. And if you ignore it long enough, boom, bar, it starts rearranging furniture inside your brain. Chronic stress disrupts the brain in ways most people don't fully understand, and the effects run much deeper than simply feeling overwhelmed. When stress becomes a constant companion rather than an occasional visitor, it begins to reshape how the brain functions, how it communicates, and even how it perceives the world. At first, the changes are subtle. You might notice you're forgetting small things, like where you left your keys or what you were about to say. You may start misplacing dates, losing your train of thought mid-sentence, or needing reminders for things you normally remember easily. These aren't random accidents. They're early signals that the brain is working harder than it should. The reason is simple. The brain is designed to handle stress in short bursts, not for long stretches. When the body senses stress, it releases chemicals that sharpen focus, tighten attention, and prepare you to act quickly. This is useful in emergencies, but when the brain stays in this mode day after day, those same chemicals begin to wear down the areas responsible for memory, clarity, and emotional balance. One of the most affected regions is the hippocampus, the part of the brain that handles learning and memory. Chronic stress can shrink it over time, making it harder to process information or recall it later. You might notice that it takes longer to understand things that used to come naturally, or that your creativity feels blocked. Another area deeply affected is the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center of the brain. This is the part that helps you plan, think clearly, organize your thoughts, and control your reactions. When stress is constantly present, the prefrontal cortex becomes less active. This leads to impulsive reactions, difficulty concentrating, and even trouble making simple decisions. You might find yourself zoning out more often, struggling to stay focused, or feeling mentally exhausted even when you haven't done much. Tasks that used to be easy, like solving a simple problem or following a conversation, start to feel heavier and more draining. Chronic stress also activates the amygdala, the brain's fear and emotion center. Over time, this area becomes more sensitive, which means the brain begins to interpret normal situations as threats. That's why someone dealing with long-term stress might become more reactive, irritated, or emotional. Small issues feel big. Minor inconveniences feel like crises. The brain becomes wired to expect danger even when there isn't any. This doesn't happen because a person is weak. It happens because the brain is trying to protect them, but it's doing it in overdrive. As the stress continues, communication between different parts of the brain becomes disrupted. Signals get crossed, responses become inconsistent, and thinking becomes cloudy. That's why people experiencing chronic stress often say they feel foggy or disconnected from themselves. This brain fog makes it harder to be present, harder to enjoy moments, and harder to stay motivated. Even doing things you once loved can feel like a chore because the brain is struggling to keep up with the constant strain. Another hidden effect is how stress changes the brain's chemistry. Constant stress reduces levels of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, chemicals responsible for happiness, motivation, and balance. When these levels drop, a person may feel unmotivated, moody, or emotionally drained. They may lose interest in things they once enjoyed, have trouble feeling excitement, or struggle to maintain a positive mindset. Over time, the brain begins to operate in a cycle of survival instead of growth. Instead of thinking, exploring, or creating, it focuses solely on protecting itself. But the good news is that the brain is incredibly resilient. Once stress is reduced and healthier habits are introduced, like rest, movement, mindfulness, better boundaries, or emotional support, the brain can rebuild and recover. Neurons reconnect, clarity returns, and emotional balance improves. Chronic stress may disrupt the brain, but it doesn't have to define it. With awareness, care, and consistency, the brain can heal, strengthen, and function with clarity again. Stress triggers physical reactions far beyond the simple feeling of being tense or worried. When the body senses stress, whether it's from work pressure, financial concerns, relationship issues, or even overthinking, it immediately shifts into a biological state designed for survival. This reaction is automatic, powerful, and deeply rooted in human evolution. Long before modern life existed, the stress response helped people escape danger. Today, that same reaction gets activated by everyday challenges, and the body reacts as if it's facing a life-threatening situation. The moment stress appears, the body releases a flood of hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline increases your heart rate, boosts your blood pressure, and sends energy to your muscles. Cortisol keeps your body alert and ready, sharpening your senses and heightening your awareness. In a short emergency, this is extremely helpful. But when stress becomes constant, this heightened state starts to take a toll on the body. The heart begins working harder than it should, and the blood pressure stays elevated for longer periods, increasing the risk of cardiovascular problems. People often notice their breathing changes when they're stressed. It becomes shallow, rapid, or uneven without them realizing it. This type of breathing reduces the amount of oxygen flowing through the body, which can lead to lightheadedness, headaches, or a sense of panic. The muscles also tighten, especially in the shoulders, neck, and jaw. Over time, this tension can cause chronic pain, stiffness, and fatigue. Many people mistake this for bad posture or aging, not realizing stress is quietly creating physical strain every day. The digestive system is another major target of stress. When the body enters fight or flight mode, digestion is not a priority, so it slows down or becomes irregular. This can lead to stomach aches, constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, or bloating. Some people overeat when stressed as a way to feel comfort, while others lose their appetite entirely. The body's ability to absorb nutrients weakens because the digestive system isn't operating smoothly. Even healthy food might not provide the same benefits if stress is constantly disrupting the process. The immune system also reacts strongly to stress. In short bursts, stress can give the immune system a temporary boost, but chronic stress has the opposite effect. It weakens the body's defenses. This makes a person more vulnerable to colds, infections, and other illnesses. You might notice that you get sick more often during stressful periods or take longer to recover than usual. The body simply doesn't have the strength to fight back efficiently when stress keeps draining its energy. The skin often reveals stress before a person even speaks about it. Breakouts, rashes, dryness, or itching can appear during stressful times because stress hormones increase oil production and inflammation. Hair can also be affected, falling out more easily or becoming brittle. Some people experience stress-induced conditions like eczema or psoriasis becoming worse. Another physical reaction to stress is fatigue. Even if a person sleeps 8 hours, stress can prevent the body from reaching deep restorative rest. The mind stays active and the body remains tense, making the sleep shallow and unrefreshing. This creates a cycle where tiredness increases stress and stress increases tiredness. Over time, the constant fatigue can make daily tasks feel heavier and more exhausting than they should be. The body also releases glucose when stressed to provide quick energy. But if stress is constant, this repeated release can lead to imbalances in blood sugar levels. This may cause cravings, mood swings, or difficulty concentrating. In the long run, it can increase the risk of developing metabolic problems. All these physical reactions are the body's way of trying to protect itself. But when stress never fades, the body stays stuck in overdrive. Every system works harder, wears down faster, and struggles to maintain balance. But the body can recover once stress is managed. Relaxation, proper sleep, mindfulness, Movement, deep breathing, and emotional support can calm the stress response and bring the body back to a healthy rhythm. Stress may trigger powerful physical reactions, but understanding them is the first step toward regaining control, restoring balance, and protecting long-term health. Ignoring stress makes it worse because stress is not something that simply disappears when you pretend it isn't there. It builds quietly, layer by layer, and before you realize it, it becomes a force that affects every part of your life. Your mood, your thoughts, your decisions, your relationships, and even your physical health. Stress is like a small leak in a roof. At first, it's just a drop here and there, nothing serious. You convince yourself it's fine. But over time, that tiny leak grows, spreads, and eventually becomes a problem big enough to damage everything underneath it. When you ignore stress, you give it the space and time to grow stronger. Most people ignore stress because they think they're being strong. They believe handling everything on their own without asking for help makes them tougher. Some think admitting stress means admitting weakness. Others stay busy intentionally so they don't have to confront what's bothering them. But the truth is the opposite. Ignoring stress doesn't make you strong. It slowly drains the strength you already have. It's like running on a battery that never gets recharged. At first, you feel a little tired, then a little more. Eventually, you have nothing left to give, and everything feels overwhelming. When stress is ignored, the brain stays in a constant state of alert. This drains mental energy, making it harder to concentrate or think clearly. You start forgetting things, losing focus, or making small mistakes you normally wouldn't make. You might snap at people for no reason or feel irritated over things that used to be easy to brush off. And because you never acknowledge what's causing the stress, you don't take steps to solve it. So the cycle continues. Emotionally, ignored stress builds pressure inside you like a shaken bottle. With each problem you don't address, the pressure increases. At first, you might feel a little anxious or restless, but eventually those feelings grow stronger. You might start feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, or even hopeless. These feelings don't appear overnight. They grow from the small, unhandled stress you pushed aside again and again. People often reach emotional breaking points not because of one big problem, but because of many little ones they never dealt with. Ignoring stress also affects relationships. When your mind is full of unaddressed tension, you have less patience, less energy, and less emotional space for the people around you. Conversations feel tiring. Social interactions feel like effort. You may distance yourself from others or misunderstand what they say. The people who care about you may feel shut out or confused, not realizing you're struggling internally. Stress creates distance, and ignoring it widens that distance even more. Physically, the body pays the price for unattended stress. Headaches become more frequent, sleep becomes shallow, and fatigue becomes a daily companion. Stress hormones stay active in the body, affecting the heart, the digestion, the immune system, and even the skin. Small aches turn into chronic pain. Occasional tiredness becomes lasting exhaustion. And because the stress is ignored, you start treating the symptoms instead of the cause, taking painkillers, drinking more caffeine, or pushing yourself harder, none of which actually fix the root problem. Perhaps the most dangerous part of ignoring stress is how it becomes normalized. You start believing that feeling overwhelmed all the time is just part of life. You accept the tension in your shoulders, the tiredness in your mind, or the heaviness in your mood as something normal. But it's not normal. It's a warning. Stress is the body's way of saying something needs attention. The good news is that stress can be managed once it's acknowledged. Talking to someone, taking breaks, setting boundaries, resting, exercising, or simply admitting I'm not okay right now can make a huge difference. Stress doesn't disappear on its own. It needs care, awareness, and action. Ignoring it only makes it louder. Facing it is what gives you the power to quiet it, heal from it, and return to a life of balance and control. Long-term stress weakens the immune system in ways that are often invisible at first, but become harder to ignore over time. The immune system is the body's natural defense team. Its job is to identify threats, attack harmful invaders, and keep you healthy. But when stress lasts too long, the body becomes trapped in a constant state of alert. And this drains the energy the immune system needs to function properly. Instead of working smoothly and efficiently, the immune system starts to slow down, making you more vulnerable to illnesses and infections that your body used to fight off with ease. When you experience stress, the body releases hormones like cortisol to help you respond quickly. In short bursts, cortisol is helpful. It gives you strength, speed, and focus. But when cortisol stays elevated for weeks or months, it stops being helpful and becomes harmful. High levels of cortisol tell the immune system to stand down because the body is prioritizing survival mode instead of healing and protection. This makes the immune response weaker, causing the body to take longer to recover from sickness, wounds, or inflammation. One of the first signs of a weakened immune system is getting sick more often. A simple cold might turn into a persistent cough. A minor infection might take longer to heal. You may find yourself catching illnesses that you used to avoid or struggling to bounce back after something small. This isn't a coincidence. It's your body showing that its defenses have been lowered. People under long-term stress sometimes don't even realize how compromised their immune system is until they begin to notice constant fatigue, repeated infections, or slow healing. Inflammation is another major factor. Normally, inflammation helps fight off harmful bacteria and viruses, but chronic stress disrupts the inflammatory process and can lead to either too much inflammation or not enough. Too much inflammation can cause the body to attack healthy tissues, leading to joint pain, headaches, stomach issues, and other long-term conditions. Too little inflammation means the body struggles to respond when real threats arrive. Either way, the immune system becomes unbalanced and less effective. Long-term stress also affects sleep, and sleep plays a critical role in immune function. When you're stressed, it's harder to fall asleep, stay asleep, or reach deep, restorative rest. Without proper sleep, the body cannot produce enough immune cells or repair damaged tissues. Even one night of poor sleep can weaken your defenses. Weeks or months of disrupted sleep can break them down even more. You might wake up tired, foggy, or drained, and those feelings make stress harder to handle, creating a cycle where stress weakens immunity and weakened immunity increases stress. Digestion also plays a big part in immune strength, and stress interferes with it. Many immune cells live in the gut, and when stress disrupts the digestive system, causing bloating, indigestion, constipation, or stomach pain. It also disrupts the balance of beneficial bacteria that support immunity. If your gut isn't healthy, your immune system can't work at full capacity. Stress reduces the body's ability to absorb the nutrients needed to maintain strong immune function, such as vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Another hidden effect of long-term stress is how it drains energy. The immune system requires a significant amount of energy to fight infections and maintain balance. But when stress constantly activates the fight or flight response, that energy is redirected toward survival functions instead of healing. The body starts conserving energy in the wrong places and spending it where it doesn't need to, leaving the immune system underpowered and unable to respond effectively. Over time, people under constant stress may notice that even small illnesses hit harder. They might take longer to recover from colds, feel exhausted after mild physical activity, or experience recurring aches that don't go away. These symptoms are signs that the immune system is struggling to keep up with the demands placed on it. The good news is that once stress begins to decrease, the immune system can slowly rebuild its strength. Rest, healthy eating, deep breathing, movement, laughter, emotional support, and time away from overwhelming environments all help restore balance. The body is designed to heal, but only when it's given the chance. Long-term stress weakens the immune system, but awareness and consistent care can help rebuild resilience and protect overall health. Rest and boundaries are essential because the human body and mind were never designed to operate nonstop. In a world that constantly demands more effort, more time, more energy, people often push themselves beyond healthy limits without realizing the cost. Rest is not a luxury or a sign of laziness. It is a biological requirement. And boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are protective lines that keep your peace, energy, and well-being intact. When both are ignored, stress builds, exhaustion grows, and life becomes heavier than it should be. But when rest and boundaries are respected, everything, clarity, strength, stability, and emotional balance begins to return. Rest is more than just sleep. It's physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, and even spiritual rest. Physical rest allows muscles to recover and the body to heal. Mental rest gives the brain a chance to reset, clearing out the clutter that builds up from constant thinking and planning. Emotional rest provides space from the pressures of taking care of everyone else's feelings. Spiritual rest reconnects you with your purpose, values, and inner peace. When these types of rest are ignored, the body becomes tired, the mind becomes foggy, and the heart becomes heavy. People may try to push through, but pushing through is not the same as healing. True rest is what allows the body and mind to recover fully. Boundaries, on the other hand, are what protect your rest. Without boundaries, life becomes an endless list of obligations, demands, and responsibilities. People feel pressured to say yes even when they are tired, overwhelmed, or simply not able to handle more. They may give away their time, energy, and mental space until there is nothing left for themselves. Boundaries are what prevent this. They help you recognize your limits and communicate them clearly. They teach others how to treat you and teach you how to value yourself. Saying no when necessary is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. When rest is missing and boundaries are weak, stress takes control. You might find yourself irritated by small things, drained by simple tasks, or disconnected from the people you care about. Your patience fades, your creativity dries up, and your motivation disappears. This doesn't happen because you're incapable. This happens because you're overextended. The mind and body can only carry so much before they begin to shut down in different ways. Fatigue becomes normal, headaches become common, and stress becomes constant. But none of this means you're broken. It simply means you're exhausted from giving too much without receiving enough care in return. Respecting rest means listening to your body when it's asking for a break. It means recognizing when your mind is overloaded. It means being honest with yourself about your limits and honoring them. Rest allows you to return stronger. It sharpens your thinking, lifts your mood, and restores your energy. People often feel guilty for resting, but here's the truth. You cannot pour into your responsibilities, goals, or relationships if your own cup is empty. Rest is how you refill it. Setting boundaries means protecting your time, energy, and emotional space. It means choosing what deserves your attention and what doesn't. It means allowing yourself to step away from negativity, overcommitment, and situations that drain your peace. Boundaries help you create a life where you feel balanced instead of overwhelmed. They allow you to show up fully when you choose to, instead of being half present because your mind and body are exhausted. Together, rest and boundaries create a foundation for a healthier life. They help you avoid burnout, manage stress, and maintain emotional stability. They give you the strength to handle challenges and the clarity to make better decisions. Most importantly, they remind you that your well-being matters. Taking care of yourself is not something you earn. It is something you deserve by simply being human. Rest and boundaries are essential because they protect your peace, preserve your strength, and allow you to live with purpose instead of pressure. Self-care is a sign of strength because it requires awareness, honesty, and courage to recognize your needs and take action to meet them. Many people misunderstand self-care as selfishness or weakness, believing that pushing through pain, stress, or exhaustion shows toughness. But true strength isn't measured by how much you can endure without breaking. It's measured by your ability to protect your well-being before you reach the point of collapse. It takes far more courage to slow down, set limits, and choose yourself in a world that constantly pressures you to keep going no matter what. Self-care means acknowledging that your body, mind, and emotions have limits. It means accepting that you cannot function at your best when you're drained, overwhelmed, or neglected. This type of honesty requires strength because it demands vulnerability. You have to admit when you're tired. You have to acknowledge when something is hurting you. And you have to be brave enough to do something about it instead of pretending everything is fine. Many people avoid this truth because it's easier to ignore their needs than to confront them. But self-care asks you to face yourself directly, and that is one of the strongest things you can do. Taking care of yourself also requires discipline. It means choosing what is best for you even when it's not convenient or comfortable. Resting when you're tired, walking away from toxic situations, setting boundaries with people who drain you, or saying no when you're overwhelmed. These choices take mental and emotional strength. They require you to stand firm against guilt, pressure, or expectations. Self-care demands consistency, not just occasional effort. And staying consistent with something that protects your health is a powerful act of strength. Another reason self-care shows strength is that it helps you stay resilient. When you prioritize your well-being, you build a foundation that supports you through challenges. A rested mind thinks clearly. A calm heart handles stress better. A healthy body has the energy to keep moving forward. Instead of burning out or breaking down, you can bounce back faster because you've invested in yourself. Self-care is not about avoiding difficulties. It's about preparing yourself to face them with stability and confidence. It's the maintenance your life needs in order to keep running smoothly. Self-care also means valuing yourself enough to treat your needs as important. This kind of self-worth isn't easy to develop, especially if you're used to taking care of others or if you grew up believing your feelings didn't matter. Choosing self-care means declaring, I deserve peace, I deserve rest, I deserve kindness. That declaration is an act of strength because it challenges negative beliefs you may have carried for years. It pushes you to treat yourself with the same compassion you freely give to everyone else. It also takes strength to break patterns that are harmful, even when they feel familiar. For some people, stress, overworking, or emotional neglect feel normal. Self-care requires stepping out of those patterns and learning new habits that support your well-being. That kind of change is not easy. It demands patience, courage, and persistence. But choosing to break harmful cycles is one of the strongest decisions anyone can make. Self-care also strengthens the relationships around you. When you are emotionally balanced and mentally healthy, you communicate better, connect more deeply, and respond more calmly. Taking care of yourself allows you to show up for others with more love and patience. It's not just a gift you give to yourself. It's a gift that positively impacts everyone in your life. Ultimately, self-care is a sign of strength because it empowers you to control your life instead of letting exhaustion, stress, or pressure control you. It's an act of taking responsibility for your well-being instead of waiting for someone else to fix things for you. It's choosing long-term health over short-term comfort. It's choosing growth over avoidance. And it's choosing to love yourself enough to protect your peace, your energy, and your happiness.